Welcome to today's webinar on designing for Modern Essbase, Part 1, BSO and ASO and hybrid OMI, choosing the right Essbase cube. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone about the upcoming Hyperion Solutions Conference that will be virtually held October 19th through the 22nd. You can register at epm.bi/Hyperion. A little bit about interRel. In 2019, we were honorably recognized as Oracle's Analytics Partner of the Year and Oracle's Global and North America Partner of the Year. We have recognized experts with 6 Oracle ACE directors, ACEs, and alumni. We have over 10 best-selling books on Hyperion, Essbase, Oracle BI, and EPM Cloud. We maintain one of the most experienced personnel whom have achieved over 170 EPM Cloud specializations, and we hold the distinction of being the first implementers of ESSCS, EPBCS, and FCCS. interRel is a full-service consulting organization offering strategy, consulting, infrastructure, cloud, and training, to name just a few. Now, Essbase is not like a relational database. It's fundamentally different. You may draw similarities between Star and Snowflake, but it's still different. Conceptually, Essbase stores hundreds to thousands of spreadsheets. You layer in structure and calculations, and the number of spreadsheets increase exponentially. What is Essbase? Essbase is a multi-dimensional cube. Its cube is organized by dimensions and hierarchies within those dimensions. Data is stored for quick analysis and reporting. Users can slice and dice the data for multiple views and analysis. And behind the scenes, it offers a powerful calculation engine. Security can be applied at a high level or down to a granular level. Also, the cubes are highly scalable and typically can be created and maintained by the business. The benefits that come with Essbase are, one, its ability to view data from a business perspective. And this is derived from its multidimensionality. Data is easily queried. You can easily drill down and zoom in to its dimension hierarchies, and the data can be pivoted. It supports asymmetric reporting queries. And as I mentioned earlier, it has that powerful calculation engine. And your typical business users can create and maintain Essbase cubes, and security is easily maintained. Before you is a visual of Oracle's BI and EPM landscape. At the bottom, you have various data sources, ERP systems, data marts, and other OLAP sources. Above the data sources, you have your platforms and your SaaS solutions. And it's those tools that offer several means to report, analyze, and calculate your data. Essbase maintains a foothold in enterprise applications. Not only do you see its presence in EPM SaaS tools, but it's on-prem, it's in on-prem, it's in X Analytics, Essbase PaaS, and Fusion PaaS. For the best results, it's important to understand Essbase concepts. In today's series, we're going to focus on the type of Essbase cubes and when to employ them. At the beginning, there were just 2 basic cubes, your ASO and your BSO cubes, but now we have hybrid. BSO cubes offer a powerful calculation engine. However, the number of recommended dimensions is limited, and larger cubes with several dimensions can experience slower aggregation times. It uses the calc script language, and it has the ability to run procedural calculations. Data can be also written to any level within the cube, and the cube is highly structured. It's important to observe when it comes to BSO cubes, the dense and the sparse dimensions. Now with ASO allows for larger dimensions and a greater number of dimensions. It doesn't require a need for a separate aggregation calculation, as data is aggregated on demand when it's being retrieved from the cube. The calculation options, however, are limited. Member formulas utilize the MDX language, which is different from that in the BSO cubes. Data can only exist at the level 0 member combination. And for ASO cubes, it's important to note whether the hierarchies are stored or dynamic. A bottle of wine, a romantic night, and 9 months later, you get a hybrid cube. Hybrid cubes offer the best of both worlds. Like Mom, which is the BSO cube in this analogy, you have the extensive calculation capabilities. You may utilize the calc script language, and you have the use of dense and sparse dimensions. Like Dad, you're allowed a greater number of dimensions and larger dimensions, but you can only store data at the level 0 member combinations. Hybrid cubes can be set for partial and full ASO aggregations. In BSO cubes, large sparse dimensions must be stored. They cannot be dynamically calculated. It would result in too much block I/O at query time and impact performance. Very large stored sparse dimensions can lead to lengthy batch aggregation times, as well as large database sizes that grow in relation to the number and size of the sparse dimensions. Even with such drawbacks, block storage is widely used for its powerful functionality. ASO cubes are specifically designed to enable large databases with much more and larger dimensions. Unlike your block storage, it doesn't require large sparse dimensions to be pre-aggregated to achieve good query performance. The key lies in the aggregation storage query processor and in a bitmap index associated with every stored level 0 cell. The bitmap index has the information required for very large fast retrievals and aggregations. Hybrid cubes keeps the use of BSO elements while enabling the use of more and larger sparse dimensions, reducing the database footprint and improving performance. Just to recap, the types of Essbase cubes for BSO, powerful calc engine, limitations in size. ASO supports big cubes and fast aggregation times, but few calculation options. Hybrid combines the power of both BSO and ASO. Now, in our OAC applications here, hybrid is its default. And when it comes with ePBCS, hybrid can be enabled. Now, what are the similarities of these three cube types? Well, for one, the cubes are still defined by their outline, even if you can't see it in most EPM applications. Also, the dimensions and most member properties are still the same. Building dimensions and in most cases, loading data is the same. Now, from an end user's perspective, they won't know the difference if they're pulling data from an ASO cube, BSO, or hybrid. So what's different? For BSO and a hybrid, you still have dense and sparse dimensions. For ASO and hybrid, you have stored and dynamic hierarchies. Some other differences are the member properties such as a solve order, how you tune and optimize the cubes can be different. BSO and hybrid, you use the calc script syntax. For ASO, you're still using the MDX syntax. BSO and hybrid allows for data storage at upper levels, but not for the ASOs. And data export options are still available for BSO and hybrid only. Now, for your knowledge, Essbase cubes have all sorts of names called cubes, sometimes referred to as databases, and plan types, just to name a few. Now, you're probably wondering now is, where are Essbase cubes used? Let's start off with planning. Within Oracle Planning Cloud, it supports one or more Essbase cubes. The number of cubes within an application depends upon the number of modules that are enabled and how they're configured. There are also differences between enterprise and standard subscriptions. With enterprise and standard subscriptions, hybrid cubes are enabled by default. For on-prem planning, as of the 11.2.2 version, hybrid is not officially supported. As mentioned before, ePBCS includes pre-configured frameworks that customers can leverage to save a lot of time during implementation. These frameworks include workforce planning, capital asset planning, project financial planning, and financial statement planning. Strategic modeling allows for comprehensive high-level forecasting, but there's no Essbase cube. Often we've recommended to build a strategic modeling analytics cube so that you can slice and dice and report data like you would in any other Essbase cube. This is typically done with an ASL cube. An important fact, planning cube or plan types are not native Essbase cubes. In planning, the Essbase or plan type cubes require 6 standard dimensions: account, entity, scenario, version, period, and years. If it's a multi-currency enabled cube, then the currency dimension is added to the number of standard dimensions. Account is automatically tagged as an account dimension type. Period is automatically tagged as a time account or dimension type, and years must be named years. Entity is used in the approval and currency calculations, and the approval planning unit is still scenario, version, and entity. New to EPM Cloud is freeform applications. Freeform application is an application that does not require the standard dimensions as traditional planning does. In essence, with freeform, you get a form of SaaS Essbase in the cloud, and you can spin up a new Essbase cubes. What's even really cool about this freeform is the ability to migrate existing native Essbase cubes to freeform planning just using the Essbase OTL files. And hybrid and ASO are also two freeform options too as well. It's really cool stuff, but wait, there's more. With freeform, open definition models are available. No required dimensions. It supports hybrid BSO or ASO. Web forms and Smart View are still available as retrieval tools for data. Like other plan types, you still get Calc Manager, approval, Smart Push, and much more. So if you are a current EPM Enterprise customer looking to move to an Oracle managed SaaS solution, freeform could be a viable option for you. And obviously an option already if you are already an EPM Cloud Enterprise customer. Freeform also has no restrictions. Your dimensions are dictated by your requirements. There are no standard dimension requirements, which means you can combine years and periods into a single dimension. There's no scenario or version requirement. You can name the dimension pretty much whatever you want. This is the kind of freedom that has been missing from planning applications that is now currently available. The other tool that uses an Essbase cube is PCM, or Profitability and Cost Management. PCM is a profitability and allocation tool. It supports simple to complex allocations. It utilizes a single ASO cube. With PCM, you get a user-driven profitability and cost management tool with a simple user interface with full transparency of its logic that's being employed to calculate its allocations. Next tool that uses an Essbase Cube is FCC, Financial Consolidations and Close. FCC is an end-to-end consolidation and close solution with out-of-the-box solutions that offer best-in-class practices that can be quickly implemented. FCC is configurable and can be specifically tailored to your company's consolidation and close requirements. Now with FCC, you have two cubes, a consolidation cube and a rates cube, which is hybrid, but you don't have access to Essbase in FCC. Next tool it uses an Oracle or an Essbase Cube is Oracle Cloud ERP. In Oracle ERP Cloud, you have an ASO cube that stores your financial balances in a multi-dimensional cube that enables real-time interactive financial reporting and analysis. It maintains your pre-aggregated data, offering immediate access to your financial data for reporting, thus eliminating any need for a data warehouse. And data can also be accessed via SmartView from the Oracle Cloud ERP. Now, there are some downsides when it comes to Oracle ERP. The configuration of the ERP controls the definitions of the cube. You can't add calculations or your own hierarchies and rollups. It doesn't integrate with other data sources. User adoption and acceptance can be challenging when converting from a current Essbase cube to a balances cube. Other cubes are not available. Also, you don't have the ability to create a cube that is specific to your requirements. In these circumstances, we commonly recommend using Essbase 19C or freeform applications, which we discussed earlier. For now, navigating is still challenging in the Cloud ERP, and with large volumes of detailed actuals, performance can be slower. Last, but of course not least, is your traditional native Essbase. Back in the day, we could have both planning and non-planning applications on our server, licensing permitting, but there's a need to create cubes inside planning when we didn't need to do this. Also, owners of native Essbase, if you do own Essbase, there is a path for OAC Essbase for customers to go from 19C to 20C to 21C. You can purchase Essbase 19C today on OCI. It's planned that Essbase's 21C is coming early next year. Also, you can install either on OCI. 21C can also be installed on your own hardware too as well. Choosing the right cube type. Your choice largely depends upon your product type. For PCM, FCC, the planning cloud modules, and for Cloud ERP, your cube type is chosen for you. You don't have the option of choosing BSO, ASO, or hybrid when it comes to those tools. But for planning in native Essbase and freeform applications, you do have the options to choose between BSO, ASO, and hybrid. When considering an ASO cube, it's all predicated on your requirements. Does your data just need to roll up? Are required calculations simple ratios and variances? If they're not complicated or iterative or driver-based calculation requirements, some of the questions you may ask, do you require a lot of dimensions or larger dimensions? Is the data set large? If the answer is yes to a majority of these questions, then an ASO cube is likely your solution. And if the answers are largely no, then hybrid is your likely candidate. hybrid is the new normal. Hybrid is recommended when you have calculations that go beyond variances or ratio type calculations, such as driver-based calculations, trend-based calculations, or iterative calculations. Hybrid is recommended when you are using on-prem native Essbase or when you are in the cloud. For Essbase 19C, hybrid is the default. So what about BSO? Well, if hybrid is the new normal, when does BSO make sense now? Well, if you want to stay officially supported by Oracle, use BSO when using your on-prem planning. In summary, hybrid BSO is better than BSO alone. Hybrid BSO does not replace ASO. ASO still makes sense for some reporting cubes. In any solution, you'll most likely have a combination of both types of cubes, ASO, hybrid, and pure BSO. Thank you for your time, and don't forget to catch our next webinar, Part 2, The Road to Optional Essbase Cube Design.